Hi everyone, I'm Mr. Andrew from Scots English Australia. IELTS speaking test worries a lot of students since you have to speak during about 15 or 20 minutes. The only way to get a high score is to have a detailed plan to practice and always be confident. Keep calm in the test. Today I will go over 12 tips that will help in the IELTS speaking test. For IELTS speaking part 3, give longer, more detailed answers. Keep asking yourself, why? And explain the alternatives. As an example question, do you think that school children should be encouraged to have their own ideas, or is it more important for them to learn what their teachers give them? An example answer could be, I think that we should definitely allow children to be creative and have their own ideas. Why? Children need to develop the ability to think for themselves and solve problems. Why? Because they are adults and will not always have someone to guide them or tell them what to do. Alternatives? If we don't allow children to have their own ideas, they will be less successful in the adult world. They will be too reliant on others. For example, a doctor might encounter a situation that he or she hasn't been trained for, but will still be expected to make a decision that could save someone's life. You should try to avoid these phrases. In the speaking test, examiners don't like it when students use phrases like, "That's a very interesting question. It's my personal opinion that," "Personally, I would have to say that," "I am of the opinion that it depends on," "To be honest, I personally believe that." These phrases sound unnatural. It's obvious to the examiner that the student has memorized them, so what should you do instead? My advice, just answer the question directly, stop using memorized phrases, and just get straight to the point. Speaking part 2, how to talk for 2 minutes. Students often ask whether it's necessary to speak for the full 2 minutes in part 2 of the speaking test. The instruction given is to speak for between 1 and 2 minutes, so it's not strictly necessary to speak for the full 2 minutes. However, the advice is that you should try to keep speaking until the examiner stops you. Here are some tips to help you keep talking. Tip 1. Go through the bullet points on your task card in order. Try to develop each point, even for the easy ones. For example, the first bullet point for the topic, describe a person, is who is it? Don't just say, I'm going to describe my father. Add more information such as your father's name, age, what he looks like, where he is now, how often you speak to him, and other information. Be sure to give examples and tell stories. Advice about grammar and vocabulary. It's difficult to think about grammar when you're trying to speak. I think it's much easier to improve your vocabulary score than your grammar score. Remember, grammar is only 25% of your speaking score. If you are thinking too much about grammar, you will lose fluency. If you try to memorize grammatical structures, your speech will not sound natural. It's difficult to avoid small grammar mistakes unless you've lived in an English-speaking country for many years. What do you do if you don't know how to answer? How do you answer a question when you don't know anything about the topic? There are 2 things you can do. Number 1, be honest and explain why and what you don't know. Number 2, guess and tell the examiner that you're guessing. Take this example question. How has technology affected the kinds of music that young people listen to? My answer, using both tips above, to be honest, I don't really know how to answer that question because I'm completely out of touch with young people and what they're listening to. I'm not a big fan of pop music. However, I suppose that technology must have affected music. Maybe young people are listening to music that has been made using computer software instead of real musical instruments like the piano or guitar. So, I've just told you 12 tips that you can apply in the IELTS speaking test. If anyone has any other useful tips, please share by commenting under this video. Thank you, and see you later in other videos of Scots English Australia.